Zoom Zoom, the movie break review. The following program is from aficionados who watch the film and discuss that film at the group's weekly Zoom meeting. The commentary voiced are opinions of each individual blogger and have been edited for clarity. Presenter and lead blogger Eileen Brill. In 1976, a lot of movies came out that year. The top box office movie was Rocky, making $117 million. Network was only 19th, earning $24 million. More viewers clamored to see, among others, A Star is Born, Barbara Stanwyck version, King Kong, Silver Streak, All the President's Men, The Omen, Midway, Taxi Driver, Carrie, Outlaw, Josie Wells, and even The Bad News Bear. Nearly 50 years later, Network seems the more relevant today.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Network by Patty Chayefsky, directed by Sidney Lumet, produced by Howard Gottfried.
My name is Eileen, and the movie I'm presenting today is Network, a 1976 drama that satirized the television industry and predicted the rise of entertainment news. It centers on an unbalanced newscaster, Peter Finch, whose on-air cry of "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore" causes a sensation. At the box office, it took in $23.7 million. The release date was November 27, 1976. It was directed by Sidney Lumet, whose movies include Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon, and 12 Angry Men.
When you said the movies that this director had done in the past and been recognized for, I was a little surprised. Every one of those movies, I think, are incredible. Even The Verdict, that maybe not as known as Dog Day Afternoon and that, but I thought all of his movies really said it loud and clear.
Two things that have not been said about the movie, because I agree with everything that has been said. I look back on the work that Sidney Lumet has produced in the years when he started with 12 Angry Men. The body of his work always has a compelling message. I think he always chose to direct things that had a social issue that he was going to deal with in that movie.
Peter Finch was desperate to win the role of Howard Beale once he read the script. He offered to pay his own airline fare to New York City for the screen test, but Sidney Lumet was concerned about Finch's Australian accent. Finch won the part after sending Lumet a recording of himself reading the New York Times with a perfect American accent. It did win several Academy Awards. Best Actor for Peter Finch, who died before the Academy Awards were to take place. He won, making him the first performer ever to receive a posthumous award at the Oscars. The second winner was fellow Australian Heath Ledger for Dark Knight in 2008. It also won Best Actress for Faye Dunaway.
Actresses Chayefsky considered for the Diana Christensen role was Candice Bergen, Ellen Burstyn, and Natalie Wood. The studio wanted Jane Fonda, who had the strong-willed, independent woman reputation that was attributed to Faye Dunaway.
Best Supporting Actress for Beatrice Straight, who played Louise Schumacher, and is only on screen for 5 minutes and 2 seconds. Hers was the briefest performance ever to win an Oscar. The screenplay is by Paddy Chayefsky, the only person to win 3 solo screenwriting Academy Awards. In 2000, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress, being, quote, culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant, end quote. In 2002, it was inducted into the Producers Guild of America Hall of Fame as a film that is, quote, set an enduring standard for U.S. American entertainment, end quote. In 2006, Chayefsky's script was voted for one of the top 10 screenplays by the Writers Guild of America East. Anderson Cooper said, quote, the movie is far more applicable to television news today than it was at the time, no question. When Network was made, it was seen as a dark satire, but many of its characters and events don't seem that far-fetched anymore. Only 3 commercial broadcast networks in 1976. Their news divisions and that content they put on air is unrecognizable to what it once was. Director Sidney Lumet and screenwriter Paddy Chayefsky claimed that the film was not meant to be a satire, but a reflection of what was really happening. Part of the inspiration for Chayefsky's script came from an on-air suicide of television news reporter Christine Chubbuck in Sarasota, Florida, 2 years earlier. The anchor woman was suffering from depression and battles with her editors, and unable to keep going, she shot herself on camera as stunned viewers watched on July 15, 1974. Chayefsky used the incident to set the film's focal point. As he would say later in an interview, quote, television will do anything for a rating, anything, end quote.
Paddy Chayefsky delved right into news broadcasts, showing the crew in the control booth going through the motions, not really interested in the news. Heck, they weren't listening when broadcaster Howard Beale says he was being let go due to poor ratings and decided he will kill himself on air.
And I thought, are you all not supposed to be paying attention? And obviously they weren't. And I thought, well, that was interesting. I've never worked in any kind of business like that. So, but I'm guessing probably when you're not up to bat or on, you probably don't pay attention to what else is going on because someone else is doing that. But I thought, well, that was interesting.
Rounding the top stars in Network is William Holden, who turned down the Howard Beale role to play Max Schumacher, flawed but sympathetic character who tries to help his friend Howard Beale. There were concerns about William Holden and Faye Dunaway working on the project since they had clashed in their previous film, The Towering Inferno.
The film was filled with vivid supporting roles. Robert Duvall plays an executive who, when murdered, he insists he wants to hear everyone's thoughts on this. Wesley Addy is the handsome gray-haired executive in the network's display window. He looks good at stockholders' meeting. And Walter Cronkite's daughter, Kathy, appears as Patty Hearst-inspired kidnap victim turned activist. Ned Beatty had a sharp-edged cameo as a TV executive. He's the one who says the famous line, "It's because you're on television, dummy."
Ned Beatty's scene I watched over and over again. I thought he was crazier than Howard Beale. And Howard Beale caught that. He's rambling and being all mashugana. And then he stopped because Ned Beatty was bigger and better than him. And I think Ned Beatty did that to show him, yeah, you're crazy.
The world is a business, Mr. Beale.
According to Sidney Lumet, the Mad as Hell speech was filmed in 1.5 takes. Midway through the second take, Peter Finch abruptly stopped in exhaustion. Lumet, who was unaware of Finch's failing heart at the time, but in any case did not ask for a third take. The complete film features the second half of the first take and the first half of the second take.
The things when Peter Finch gave his first monologue after his first craziness on scene, what he talked about humanity, I thought that could be coming out of my mouth, because in a much more hopefully negative way, he was actually articulating how I feel about the human race and religion and all that kind of stuff and the frustration. But most of the other monologues in the movie, especially towards the end, were so intellectual, use such big words that I would have to see it on paper and start looking up things to really get what they were saying other than their highbrow.
Peter Finch's scenes, I kind of went through that very fast because it was just like too rambling for me. Not that it wasn't brilliant. You know, he just put everything he had into those scenes. And so when he died, the following year, I wasn't surprised, and he was very, very young.
When they're discussing what's going on the station, and Diana says, you know, what he's saying is really what every American wants to say, what Howard was saying, and that people are tired of all the BS that's going on.
Angry, and I'm not going to take it anymore. And it brought to mind during 2020, during COVID, people hanging out their windows in various cities, thanking the police and all the people that work so hard to keep them safe. I just can't imagine people opening up their windows in any world that I live in to be shouting out any social messages. I wish it were so.
I saw this movie when I was young, and it didn't have the same impact as it did now when I watched it. I kept thinking, this is how we've evolved to what we watch today, all the reality shows and the way news has changed. I was just astounded by how accurate it was for our time, given that it was made so many decades ago.
Peter Finch, as Howard Beale, espoused his views to his audience, whether they really knew what he was talking about. He certainly was the center of attention in the film. However, it is Faye Dunaway as Diana Christensen who kept the audiences in their seats. Her obsession, as the TV ratings went up, her eyes popped and practically jumped out of her clothes, her version of sexual ecstasy. She may not have been liked in Hollywood, but in my opinion, she bested everyone in network.
There's a lot of people that are crazy. Faye Dunaway was
George,
also,
Hannah, you come into my office.
she's walking through the office and her boobs are bouncing all over, and, I just thought,
Barbara, is
God,
Tommy
she's
around
so
anywhere?
freaking
I think so. I'd like to see
provocative,
the two of you for a moment.
and so forceful and so determined.
A couple of things that really struck me. Well, I love the acting. And this is so crazy. And I guess maybe it's a feminist outlook or something. But I thought, gosh, I didn't realize Robert Duvall has been had that bald spot for such a long time. And I thought, why do they keep showing him from that angle? But the acting was great. I loved everyone.
Sakes, Diana, we're talking about putting a manifestly irresponsible man on national television.
I thought Faye Dunaway was, I don't use bad language, but I thought if I did, she was just awful, just so driven that, I thought the scene where they're watching television and this fellow is trying to be romantic with her, they're naked in bed, and she's telling him, shush, I'm not ready for this now. She's tuned into television.
They're making love, William Holden and her, and she's just talking and talking and talking and talking. And I'm thinking, what? How could this guy, possibly accomplish anything with this, yakety yakety person? But she was like manic, in her behavior throughout the movie.
I'm thinking of doing a homosexual soap opera. The Dykes. The heart-rending saga about a woman hopelessly in love with her husband's mistress. What do you think?
I enjoyed the movie. I thought the acting was great. In my mind, I don't know why, and I don't remember her name, but Max's wife, why she won Best Supporting Actress. I know she had a short role, and I thought it seemed to me that there were other people in the acting profession, especially in that year, 75, 70, or 76, who really had larger supporting roles. And so I'm not sure if it was because she was able to go from happy to just angry to crying back to being sort of accepting. But I was surprised that she was the person who won the Best Supporting Female role.
Susan George talked about why would this woman get the Academy Award for Supporting Actress with such a small role. And I agree that almost always it's a much more lengthy role in a movie that get these awards. But sometimes they give an award for an incredible performance, no matter how much the person is in the movie. In this movie, so much of it tugged at our frustration or our not liking what corporate's done and what TV has come to today. But the scene in this movie that was emotional, that tugged at your heart, was when they were at the dining room or breakfast table and he's talking about the affair. It was like, why not twist the knife? It was so hard and sometimes you don't have to always say exactly. He could have lied a little bit to protect her heart. Here he's lying, he's cheating, affairs happen. People do move on, but you don't have to stab the person that did you no wrong while you're making your exit. So I think it was that scene that touched so many people, that communicated that emotion so perfectly, that probably got her that award.
Obsessed with her.
Say it. Don't keep telling me that you're obsessed, that you're infatuated. Say that you're in love with her.
I'm in love with her.
Get out! Go anywhere you want. Go to a hotel. Go live with her, but don't come back. Because after 25 years of building a home and raising a family and all the senseless pain that we have inflicted on each other, I'm damned if I'm going to stand here and have you tell me you're in love with somebody else.
I love this movie so much. I watched it last night that I replayed several scenes over and over again because they were so incredible. I thought William Holden was brilliant. He was so steady but lost control of his life. And he's telling his wife about his affair, which was so stereotypical of men when life goes a little crooked and then they have to have an affair to make it better. And his line where he says, "She makes me feel something," because he was so dulled by his whole life of doing what he was doing. I thought that was such a poignant sentence, that his wife didn't make him feel, his daughter, new grandchild, those things didn't make him feel, but this crazy lady made him feel because she was so crazy.
Dunaway being a decent actress, I have some knowledge about her that has never made me enjoy her as a person. So I thought she was perfect in this role. I thought it was true to life. Let's put it that way. So it was truly a great movie.
So Betty Davis was on Johnny Carson, of course, a long time ago. And Johnny Carson asked her, who was the worst person you ever worked with? She said, hands down, Faye Dunaway. She's so unprofessional and kept us. I mean, she went off on this tyrant. You know, you were shocked at that time that, you know, somebody could say something so awful and truthful about another star that you're starring with. But she did not think highly of her. And Betty Davis was always very professional in how she came to, you know, film and how she respected the industry. And she felt Faye Dunaway was not that person. But, you know, she won the Academy Award. So
she's a good actress.
Maybe she played herself.
I love this movie, and I saw it when it came out, and it's very personal. It's in the collection down in the main section. And it's a category I call media manipulation. And all the way to the very end, when the final lines are, here's the first person who died because of bad ratings. And it's like, that's it. But there's been some other media manipulation related movies have been very excellent through the years. Another one is a Kirk Douglas vehicle, Ace in the Hole. It's about a trapped miner and how they're just trying to run it on, and they could save him, but they don't. And they keep going on because it's a great human interest story. I think Peter Finch in this one part in here, he's looking out at the audience and he said, only 3% of you read a newspaper, and maybe 15% of you you've ever read a book. And he just goes on criticizing the mass populace of the audience. And it's wonderful because it's very sad, but I think that a lot of people that consume a lot of this mass stuff, they don't look at alternative sources of information. I mean, if you want to get a view of what's happening in media, pick up the New York Times, pick up the Wall Street Journal, read them both, and because you'll get a little bit of a polar diversion.
The director, Sidney Lumet, he did over 40 movies. That's a huge amount of movies, and was known for the high quality of acting that he got out of his actors. And there was one description of him that said his movies is trademarked in the movie, highly emotional and complex, but not overly sentimental. And the fact that it was so prophetic, it was also interesting to me too. It also said one of his trademarks is that he creates realistic atmosphere by using very little music. And I thought, that's true. I don't remember really any music. I'm sure there was some in there, especially in the dining scenes. Though that was funny, the romantic weekend that they had, and she was talking nonstop the whole time and thinking about different ways she could increase the readings and who she could put on the shows and how she was negotiating. So Faye Dunaway did, I thought, just a great job. She was driven and beautiful, and I thought, boy, she is a package, you know, in terms of what she could do.
I had never seen this movie. I don't even think I had ever heard of it. And I was so surprised. I mean, obviously I saw, you know, the title and when it was made, but I thought, wait a second, this could have been made last year, but it wasn't. And so it was so timely. And I'm thinking back, I wonder how many movies we've seen in the past that could be made today, or, you know, within so many months, that are so timely. And I thought, well, you know, the channel that they worked for was UBS. And I thought, wait a second, is UBS, is that spelled FOX?
They all appeared to be soulless, like they had no no morality, no sense of caring. And, the fact that somebody would offer to kill themselves on TV and the producers would be salivating over the prospect, to boost up ratings, as opposed to thinking, we need to get this guy some help and not have him kill himself on TV.
And I really liked Peter, what's his name? Peter Finch too. And then every time he did one of his highly crazy speeches and then he collapsed, I thought he's dead. Every time he did that, I thought he's dead. Is he breathing? Especially the first time he did it in the office of the guy. But then every time after that, he falls on the floor. So, but it was pretty shocking when he got shot in that scene on TV. I mean, I knew they were talking about it. I thought that was highly bizarre. But the fact that they actually, performed that scene like that really surprised me.
When Chayefsky produced the film in 1976, it was about ratings and the money from commercials. The network are run by corporations that dehumanizes its employees. This is especially important at the end when the network executives calmly discuss killing Howard Beale.
To an assassination. I think I can get the Mao Zedong people to kill Beale for us. It's one of their shows. In fact, it'll make a hell of a kickoff show for.
Too bad Chayefsky isn't alive today. I could only imagine what he'd say about a TV network propping up or taking down someone for the benefit of the network's backers.
I get everything about the movie and I appreciate that how current it is today. But this last time I watched it, it hit me as sad. It hit me as frustrating. It was hard to enjoy it because it's so relevant.
I think that was a stellar movie to pick out, and I really enjoyed it. Really got me kind of thinking about those things again. I think they ought to re-release it today and get it out there because there's a lot of truth in that. And I tell you, the corporate shenanigans that go on are pretty amazing too. So
I'm curious how the people in this group use ratings, like on IMDb or movies, Rotten Tomatoes, or I don't know what some of the other Siskel and Ebert used to. Does anybody here rely on ratings, those type of ratings at all, to color what they see? Nobody? Everybody's shaking their
Not so much.
Before I go to a movie, I try to see what it was rated. If other people tell me they like it, I mean, if I have two choices and one's got great ratings and one gets panned a little bit, and I'm only going to go to one movie that week, I'll probably choose the one with the better rating.
Ratings are opinions, and I'm always leery of people's opinions. And so what I try to always do is look as objectively, why do they like it or why do they not like it? I do the same thing if I'm reviewing a part or component on Amazon. I could look at all these reviews that go on forever, but if I see something objectively that makes sense, it means a lot more to me than somebody just said, well, it arrived and didn't work.
It is opinion, but when you have 100 opinions one way, the outlier probably isn't accurate, or the outlier is the only one telling the truth. You never know.
Well, life and death is one thing. A movie or a TV show is not going to kill us.
Zoom Zoom, the movie break review.